I did manage to get a couple of deer. I got a nice fat doe and a real nice buck. Um, just during the last 3 or 4 days of muzzleloader season. I didn't have any success during archery season. I never had anything close enough to my stand, uh, but I did pretty well with the muzzleloader. And I wanted to just show real quick how I do this. I like to age the deer. Here in Oklahoma, it's never cold enough to just let them hang outside. So I quarter them up, and then I put them in the refrigerator for several days. Um, the doe I'll just put in here. It'll be in here. Today's the fourth day, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it up. And then the buck I'll leave in here for 5 days or so. But I just use the big industrial trash bags, and it's clean enough for me. I put it in there. I take the bottom drawers and rack out of the fridge, and then you can see I don't have much room left. Um, just the top shelf. Normally it's only one deer, which takes up the bottom and leaves me plenty of room in the fridge, but this time I got two, so that's how I do that. I've found I've cut them up, and the next day after I shot them, and it's all right. But I've found that it's much more tender if you're able to let it age for 3 days at least. Um, a lot of what I've read says that once rigor mortis sets in, then you need to let it age. If you can cut it up before rigor mortis sets in, then it should be tender. Um, but once it does set in, then you need to let the meat age for several days so the chemical reactions can take place and break down the meat. But that's how I do it. I like to start out with several sharp knives. Got a selection here. I use a Duo Sharp. It's a diamond sharpener. I like it because it's a huge surface to sharpen on. Does a good job. It has two different coarseness levels. You can flip it over and go from a coarser to a finer. But I've been using this for decades, and I have two of them actually. I like them so much. Then I set up a card table and cover it with butcher paper, um, and then I just cut up the meat here. That's a hind quarter, the round. I'll just separate it by muscle groups, and I cut the hindquarters up into steaks. I don't make any roast except for the neck roast. And then of course, I cut the rib meat out, take out the loins. Those go into steaks. Tenderloins go into steaks. And then the front quarters I cut up into stew meat, and um, all the tougher pieces of meat will get cut up into stew. I don't grind anything. Um, a lot of people grind the whole thing up into hamburger, but yeah, I like the steaks. Yeah, so I just take the meat off the bone, and you can see you can separate it by muscle group is the way I do it. And the groups all come apart pretty easily. I try to get some of this film off. Not completely successful. Get some of the big pieces of this connective tissue out of the way. And then you want to try to get all the hair off. gotten to where I'm pretty good about keeping hair off the meat when I skin it. Be careful when you skin it. You save yourself a lot of trouble, because that hair, that certainly imparts a lot of bad flavors into the meat, and it, gets bacteria on there. So let's start. Let's taking these muscles apart here. So muscle here. And I've butchered a lot of deer over the years, but I'm by no means an expert butcher, but it works fine for me. You could always take your deer to a processor, have it done. For me, I like to do it myself, and it makes it worthwhile. It brings the cost of the meat down to next to nothing. The cost of the license and tag. Here, I think a hunting license is $40 or something like that, and the deer tag's 20, so it doesn't cost too much. Does it, Scout? Scout's hanging around. She may have to go on lockdown. She usually does pretty good, though. But you really couldn't blame a dog for jumping up here and grabbing a piece of meat. So all the round will go into steaks. The shank portion down here is going to go into stew meat. Just cut everything off the bone. That's all the steak. Any hair off of there. Not much. If you have an assistant to pick hair off and do those kinds of things, that would be helpful. So yeah, on the shanks, this would be something really good to grind up. I don't have a grinder anymore. I had one, but it was had an aluminum hopper, and I put it in the dishwasher, and that pretty much ruined it. So try to get all the meat off the bone. Don't want to waste any meat because it's wrong, and in most states it's illegal to waste meat. Of course, it's always going to be a judgment call how clean you could get it. But, like I say, the rest of the meat that I trim off the bone will be stew meat. This is actually a knife my nephew bought me when I lived in Alaska. He brought it to me when he came up fishing. It's a Knives of Alaska. It's a coho fillet knife. Super nice knife. And I don't give scalp bones. I had a vet, her first vet, said don't give bones because they can splinter and cause problems. And then her next vet said, oh, you can give raw bones except for flat bones. And I just figured it's better safe than sorry. So I did have a neighbor once who had a dog that died from eating a bone that splintered. So it does happen. And then I think most reasonable vets probably say, well, canines have always eaten bones, so maybe it's not that big a deal. All right, so this will all be stew meat. If you had a grinder, you'd want to grind this up. So I'll just chop it up like this. And get a pile of stew meat going here. And on deer, you want to get all the fat off. The fat imparts the gamey flavor. And try to get that off. And fat also has the lymph nodes, which is where bacteria accumulate. So avoid that. Straighten that end up. Call that stew meat. And then just, I make steaks like that. My steaks, I flour them and fry them. I fry everything in either beef tallow or hog lard now. So there's the steaks. Big stew meat. Straighten that up. And I'll leave that as a big steak. And just cut this into steaks. And those are nice round steaks there. Beautiful. There's a stench one on with that one. Get rid of that. And so there's an example. There's a lymph node right there. You can see it's in the fat. It's gray colored, about almost a ½ inch long. So that's why you want to get your fat out, or one of the reasons. Okay. So you start with a corner away from you. Lay your steak on there. However much you think you'll eat at once. And then just start rolling it down towards the other corner. Leave you enough room here to fold that over. Fold the end back over on this one. Around, tuck that under, and you're good. Okay, and there you have that. There you have it.